Hi, I'm Magda from Wnętrza Zewnętrza. Today it's finally time for the episode about tiles. Some of you probably remember that during my renovation internship, I already had the chance to experience cutting and gluing tiles. But of course, when you're learning under the supervision of someone experienced, it's a bit different. When you have to do everything from A to Z and there's no master around, who could give you some advice? Suggest something or correct you if something's wrong and correct you in time, not when it's already too late. That's why now I feel like the demo mode is over and life, has really begun. As you can see, we've already had our first experience with grouting because we wanted to install the toilet to make things more comfortable. So we started with that section with the tiles. And thanks to that, I could also see what the final result would look like. And what any possible unevenness will look like in the end, because it turns out that these tiles, they're not even. They're kind of like handmade, uneven. Some of them are like bananas, some are bent in different directions, and then sometimes it's just impossible to lay them completely evenly. Those uneven spots are to some extent simply part of their charm. But that's exactly why I don't know when it's crooked because of the paint and when it's crooked because of the tile. No. And I guess this isn't really the best situation for learning. But let's hope that in the end this wall will turn out just as nicely as that one. Laying tiles isn't just about gluing, sticking them on, and then you can just do the next one. It's mainly about constantly keeping an eye on alignment, spacing, and level, so that the lines don't go off, in different directions. Because if there's even a slight deviation and we don't fix it, then it will just get bigger and bigger, and in the end it will be noticeable. So I have two levels here, one small and one bigger, and I just keep switching between them all the time. What's more, I lay them quite slowly, so I have to regularly mix more adhesive. Fortunately, we have one that lasts a long time. You can use it for a long time because with those fast-drying adhesives, I really don't know how we could manage here. Because it's just one strip and not even across the whole wall, just half of it here, only at the height of the shower. It takes me about half an hour to lay it. And that's only because there are no cuts, no trimming, and nothing distracts me. No phone, Drinking, eating, nothing, and usually you take different breaks for that. And there are tile cuts, so honestly, this has been going on for a few days now. It's Friday today, and we were working here laying these tiles, on Sunday. I think we laid them on Sunday. On Monday we did the grouting, and on Tuesday we installed the toilet, if I remember correctly. Or maybe a day later. But as you can see, first a piece was laid here, then the rest here, then here. So it's not that quick at all. And now memories are coming back to me, like when we showed different people the tiles we chose. For example, my uncle, who has a construction and renovation company, and my uncle looked at the tile, then looked at us. Good luck, buy yourselves a laser level. And that tone, now I understand what he meant. Because what's the problem, right? Small tiles are easier to lay than large ones because they're light. You don't need those suction cups, but it really is very time consuming. I didn't think it would be this much. And I understand why people choose those tiles that look like they're made up of many small tiles, and you glue on just a few, but they look like a lot of small ones. I don't like that solution because that artificial grout made on those tiles is different from the one that will be between the big pieces. So in the end, you can see that it's fake, and that's not nice. Still, it's definitely much cheaper because obviously you have to pay for labor. And if something can be done faster, then it's just cheaper. That's the natural order of things. Unless you're doing it yourself, and after work hours and you wouldn't earn anything during that time anyway, then okay, you don't have to look at it that way. But if you're paying someone, or if it means that you yourself aren't taking on another job during that time, then unfortunately you have to include that time in the costs. But overall, I think the wall looks nice. For now, the levels show that it's not a disaster. It's more or less even. I say more or less because these tiles are warped. So when you put a long level against them, you can see from the side that it's not like the tiles fit perfectly everywhere. But keep your fingers crossed that this will actually be good enough, especially by the shower cabin. Because that's what worries me the most. And right here, where the shower cabin will end, that's where I paid the most attention. It would be pretty bad to fill such a gap with silicone. So the shower cabin is vertical, and the tiles next to the cabin also have to be vertical. And if it doesn't line up perfectly, well, that's just how it is. But those can't be big deviations, so that was my priority. Now you can also clearly see the layout of this bathroom. The toilet is already installed here, of course. The sink will go there. And here the shower is already in place with openings for the shower faucet. And what's important is that this wall will be tiled high. Probably not all the way to the ceiling. That's not what we're planning. Especially since there's a drop there because of the ventilation going to the kitchen. But the tiles will go high above the shower cabin. And here above the shower cabin, the tiles will also go just as high. But here, they'll only go low. And those walls on your side, this one and that one, will just be painted with paint. I couldn't wait for a long time to start laying tiles. It was my big dream to learn how to do it. And now, when it finally came down to it, on one hand, I'm a little bit excited. And I have the patience to do something so intricate, actually. This is definitely a task that's just right for my abilities. But on the other hand, it's yet another day when I'm waiting for that final result. And it's not there. And I'm a little bit tired of it already, and it's kind of funny in its own way. Because often it's like we really want something, we dream about something, and when it happens, it turns out that it's not exactly how we imagined it would be. For example, someone goes abroad for the first time. She sees the warm sea, those beautiful views like in Greece or something, and then it turns out that actually it's too hot there. There's a lot of trash on the streets and not many plants. Actually, it's not that pleasant. Sure, there's a nice view somewhere, but then there are tons of tourists and the atmosphere is a bit off. So it's not quite what you expected. Of course, it's not always like that. Sometimes something can turn out to be nicer than we thought it would be. Everyone experiences different things differently, but this kind of mechanism does happen sometimes. That you wait and wait for something, and then, well, it might be okay. And I also have to admit to you that I hesitated a bit before recording this video, because I'm simply stressed about how it will turn out. Once I saw the tiles grouted, I felt like it's okay. But still, there's this possibility that when installing the shower, it might turn out that something's wrong and that it doesn't fit, and that something will have to be done differently. That I just messed it up, and I don't even know how, because I use the level, I check everything. I really don't know anything about this. It's my first time doing it. So this fear that I might miss something or judge it wrong is really big. And you can't see it now. It will only show up later. In general, renovation is really about preparing the ground for the next things. If you do something wrong at the beginning, for example, if you level the floor incorrectly, then there will be problems with the next things we put on that floor. With the furniture, for example. If you make the walls uneven, then it's harder to lay tiles. And it's hard to mount anything on crooked tiles. One problem leads to another, so the more precisely we do these first tasks, the easier it will be later. And when different crews come to the construction site, the next ones usually get annoyed with the previous ones if something isn't done perfectly, because you can feel all of that later. And finally, there's making custom furniture. The carpenter comes in and has to fix everything after everyone else. I mean, he can't straighten the walls or the floor, but he has to adjust his furniture to what he finds. And you know, when there aren't straight cuts, it's just harder. So now I'm going back to work. Like I told you before, keep your fingers crossed for me. I couldn't wait to lay the tiles, and now I can't wait for the shower and sink to be installed and to see the final result of this bathroom. How everything looks here in the space so that you can finally wash up here normally. It's going to be amazing now that I think about it, as long as everything works out. That's why I'm not recording anymore. I'm just getting to work. And you guys leave a thumbs up and comments. Remember to subscribe to Wnętrza ze Wnętrza, because we already have hundreds of videos here, not just the renovation series, but also home tours. So make sure you check if you haven't missed anything. And also, don't forget about our store at wnętrzazewnętrza.pl, where you can find interior design books, as well as products like Mebelki Studi or the Zestaw Małego Architekta. You might find them interesting. Check out what they are, in case you missed it when I talked about these products, and see you next time.